Hi guys, I'm Ryan Houston and welcome to my fly tying channel. This channel contains hundreds of different videos covering all manner of different patterns, techniques and styles of fly tying. There's something here to suit almost everybody, so hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, let's get on with the show. Hi guys, so we're going to tie a streamer fly tonight and this is John Barr's Slump Buster. So really simple streamer to tie, not a lot of materials in it, essentially three at the most, and quite heavy, big profile, and the big sort of collar hackle here gives plenty of movement and plenty of water pushing to attract the fish's attention. So heavy fly, this is a tungsten cone, and we also have a lead underbody or lead free, whatever you have. So let's get on to tying it. So hook wise for this, a long shank lure type hook. So I'm going to use a Camazan B830 in a size 8. But depending on where you are in the world, you could use lots of different patterns. And I'm going to use one of these Fulling Mill 4mm or 5/32 tungsten cone heads. Now, these ones are slotted, and the slot means that you should be able to get it around the bend easier without it needing to bend your barb off or flatten your barb. So I should put the hook on the right way around. So pass it through the eye, and then as I said, the slot allows it to slide the rest of the way around. So tighten that into the base. Now, to fix that in place, we're going to use, I'm going to use lead wire, but as I said, if lead ain't allowed, then use a lead free wire. This one happens to be a 0.6mm lead wire from Vineyards. And what we're going to do is wrap that on quite a few turns. It'll probably snap of its own accord. Lead wire tends to do that. I'll then snap the back of it off as well. And then I'm going to put a bit of super glue up at the front there, and before that dries, ram that up in. Now we either can leave the slot on top or we can put the slot underneath. So just pick a position for it. Bit of super glue onto those wraps of lead, and then I'm going to take my tying thread while that's still wet and get it on behind here. It'll sort of take the step out a little bit, and then I come up over the wraps of lead and back. Just go back and forward over that, and because it's already wet with super glue, it will bind into that and stick the whole thing together. So we'll take off our spare thread there, and now we're going to think about the body. So first I'm going to put on a rib. For this I'm going to use a wire. I'm going to use just plain silver wire, but as I said, if you want to use a coloured wire for a little bit of a trigger point, you can do that. And for the body I'm going to use a gold braid, and the reason I'm doing that is to match the gold cone that I've chosen to use. So as I said, if you'd used a silver cone, you could have used a silver braid body. So just tie that on, take it down to the rear here, and then return our thread to the front of the fly. And what I'm going to do here again is just a little run of super glue onto those wrappings, and then we'll take this forward and sort of touching or slightly overlapping turns, and it'll sort of settle itself into that glue. It'll absorb the glue and basically stick the whole thing together, make it much stronger. So we can take that right up to the front if we want. just want to fold it back a little bit there, and then cut that off in at the back of the cone. Now, the wing or back of this fly is pine squirrel zonker. I'm going to use an olive one here. Before I do that, what I'm going to do is take my wire and take one turn at the back, and I've now returned it so that it's on my side. And the reason I do that is that I find that if I don't, that the wire can tend to flip the strip over. I find it just is much straighter to have taken one solid turn before starting to wrap. So, as I said, the wing portion of this is pine squirrel zonker. What I'm going to do is just take the very front of that and rip it off. There's no hair on that then, so I can stick this up into the back of my cone, and I'm binding back. Now you notice I'm binding back over the body that I've already tied a little bit here, and you can go back as far as you want depending on how big the collar that you want, or how bulky the collar that you want is going to be. So we're now going to attach this with the rib. So what I'm going to do is just wet my finger and thumb, and I'm going to stroke the hair up until it's level with a point where I want to start the tie in, and then I'm just going to work my wire through the gap I've created, and then I'm going to take the rib forward through the hair, hopefully at fairly even intervals, and I'm trying not to tie too much hair down if I can at all help it, so it's sort of a wiggling motion. If some hair does come out, just stroke it until you're happy with the way it's sitting. And then when we get to the front, we need to tie the wire off. So we can tie it in straight if you want, or we can wrap it a few more wraps and helicopter it, or just wiggle it back and forward, and it should snap itself fairly quickly. So, wings on. How long do you want it to be? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a blade to cut it, and I think the longer you make it, probably the more chance it is of it wrapping on itself. So I'd say if you go, talking about skin length here, if you go back maybe 1/2 to 3/4 of a shank length and cut that off, what you'll find is then that we still have the additional length of the hair, which is probably what, 15 mil or so, which will come out the back and continue that sort of taper. Some people like to cut this into a taper. I don't think it's necessary. So to finish the fly, what we're going to do is create a hackle out of the pine squirrel zonker as well. But for this, what I've chosen to do is to cut a finer strip of it. So we have the strip that we did the back with, and we have the strip that we're going to do the hackle with, and it's a finer thing. So again, to tie it in to reduce bulk, just rip out a little bit of the hair, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it in with the skin side pointing up. The reason for that is because as I start to wrap it, that's going to fold over, and what I'm going to choose to do is to add a little bit of super glue just onto the thread, and that will help to adhere this down when it touches. But we have to be careful that we don't get fur involved in it. Wrap that, and now final wrap. What I'm hoping it's going to do is to sit in to the back of the cone. Okay, so then we take our thread, get it over that. Hopefully the thread itself then will sort of knit or sit tight down into the back of the cone as well. Once we have a couple of wraps across it, I'm just flipping it up till I can see it, and I'm going to nip off the skin strip. And then as we tighten the thread down, hopefully that'll just pull it down into the side or into the recess of the cone. A few half hitches or whip finishes, whatever you want. And usually I would then work the thread back and forward, and that helps it just to knit or sit in down behind the cone. If you're worried about it, do it twice. Pull that up a bit up there, nip it off. And what I'm going to do is just to get a little bit of super glue into that. I don't want it to touch and get wicked into the fibres of the hackle that we've created, or the fake hackle as such. So I'm just using a needle. I'm just going to pull that back and get it. I'm actually using the slot to get down in there and just get a little bit of super glue in to fix those end wrappings. And that is our John Barr Slump Buster tied. So obviously this fly can be tied in a variety of different colours to suit your own needs, and personally on my own river here I would probably tie this in this colour, so this sort of fiery brown, but use what suits you on your own waters. So hopefully you like the video, hopefully you'll subscribe, tell your friends, check out all the other videos on the channel that I have. So until next time, tight lines, and thanks for watching.